Vale.
Thank you, Zoliti. Good morning from me too. In this section, I will talk about the intellectual outputs that the ENTRINNO game is consists from. And it's technically a narrative of how we started and where the game ended up. As you see, there are 5 intellectual outputs. At the beginning, we started trying to identify the needs, what is needed in Europe, in our partner countries. And we ended up compiling 8 national reports with a lot of information about what it means to be an entrepreneur in Europe, what it means to have those particular skills that we will talk about today. We conducted several focus groups, interviews, and online questionnaires to gather data about what do we need to emphasize on. So our work was based on actual research on the needs within the frames of the project. Just a quick overview of what are those skills that are needed. It seems that creativity is something very high in demand. So an entrepreneur firstly needs to be highly creative, as it was mentioned. And so throughout our focus groups and our discussions in different partner countries, we concluded into particular aspects that we should emphasize on our designs. And those include communication, time management, problem solving, taking an initiative, being creative, of course, taking risks, and having leadership skills. All of these combine and intertwine with each other. Of course, there were other skills emphasized, such as flexibility, passion, resilience, negotiation skills. And of course, throughout our research, we narrowed down specifically gamified or gaming elements that we should include in our design, such as some scoreboards, some rankings, a scenario within which we frame the gameplay, and of course skills which are conveyed through different badges. This is a visual of what skills we ended up emphasizing on, and I will talk about the alignment of these skills with the ENTRINNO framework. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this framework, but it's an entrepreneurship competences framework that was released by the European Union and that emphasizes, in particular, entrepreneurship competences, which means the framework is divided into 3 categories: into action, resources, ideas, and opportunities. So when we collected our skills, when we attempted to describe them, we also came to align them with the skills in the European framework. And this was actually a very powerful way of validating both the content and the skill as well as the practices within the game. And just to give an example here, we see the skill of collaboration in the game. We try to describe it and try to align it with the thematic areas that we focus on, and then we come to match it with the respective aspect in the framework. And just to show you an idea, communication fits into action, the green area over there, which involves working with others, communicating with others, and being interactive. Now, in terms of the game design, the game consists of 6 phases: introduction, ideation, build team, financial planning, entry markets, communication, and pitch your idea. So throughout these phases, the users come to facilitate their idea to mature throughout working on several activities and projects, and they come at the end to pitch their idea at the end of the virtual competition they participate in. This is the ENTRINNO website. For any further information, you may visit online. It's entrinno.org.
L o I?
I, ENTRINNO.
ENTRINNO.
Yes. And also, when you visit the page, you click to enter the game, and you can played through your PC and also from your mobile device. Now, moving on to the next intellectual outputs. Throughout game design, we run several in-house and testings, and also testings with different stakeholders and youth before we actually run our implementations. And so these are some examples of how we evolve our ideas, how we evolve our work within the consortium and throughout our discussions. The content became less on the screen because we had to deal with a lot of content, and so we had to organize it in order to be more attractive to the user. We simplified the language a lot because we wanted to apply to a wide range of audiences. We provided additional readings, additional resources. We updated the interface several times in order to be able to respond to the needs, the usability needs of our users, and also created a profiling activity so that we immerse our users in a more personalized way. Now, to highlight the value of this tool as a pedagogical tool, we created an adaptation toolkit. The main goal of this toolkit is to facilitate anyone who wants to integrate it into their classroom. And it's divided into two parts. Part one is the facilitator's guide, which regards more of a technical aspects on how to log in, how to deal with particular potential difficulties that the users might face, any troubleshooting issues that you might face, or any questions from your users. And also the second part regards the pedagogical guidelines, which is actually guidelines on how to implement the game with your users. And as an example here, I'm showing a table that exists in our adaptation toolkit where the instructor can see the learning outcomes and see which activities are matched or correspond to those learning outcomes, the duration that they take, so as to plan their time, and then tools and resources that exist in the online platform that they can use, and also the points, if we want, since we are gamifying education, the points that are allocated for the completion of each activity. We disseminated and we applied, ran several workshops of ENTRINNO in all partner countries and in many contexts. We had several collaborations with youth camps, youth organizations, entrepreneurs that work in different organizations and institutions. Of course, we distributed widely because we wanted to have a quicker view of this impact. So we ourselves were also eager to see what's going on with this new tool that we created. So please go ahead if you're interested, like the ENTRINNO page on Facebook to receive news and events that we host. Now, as an end result, what the ENTRINNO game encompasses. It is aligned with the EU directives, as it is 100% aligned with the particulars of what the frameworks show. It's modular and it can be adapted in learning courses. What does it mean? It means that after the beginning of the game, the instructor can choose to show not in a serial way, but also in a modular, to jump from one aspect to the other, and hold also discussions in several matters. It's closer to the youth tech cultures. Of course, we know that traditional education is not as attractive as something more techy. It addresses various needs of the economic growth, as shown from the European Commission. It's self-paced. it can also be facilitated by instructors. So we try to give grounds to both modes of delivery. And it can be combined with materials and resources in existing courses, for example, a course at the university, to enhance those entrepreneurial skills. And it fits perfectly with especially beginner stages of business courses. Now, in terms of impact, we have started to see through our implementations, since we have a large number of participants, and we will talk about it later on. The young adults, we observe that they are more likely to become familiar with these EU innovative practices. They are more likely to be developing a sense of ownership in their own learning through the game. There is increased motivation to develop those entrepreneurial skills because it's not as it's an unforced, more naturalistic way of working with this kind of skills. And it's also important that there is a promotion and exchange of ideas throughout several discussions. Importantly, the impact on the stakeholders is equally significant because we have worked with adult training institutions, research and development centers, public institutions in social services, youth organizations, etc. And we found that this tool was a great opportunity for developing a very productive network. There was powerful involvement of all parties throughout the different phases. And we were very fortunate to have received feedback from all those institutions and stakeholders who are, besides everything else, the experts in the field. We observed that there is enrichment in professional practices, as we got many questions about, okay, how do I incorporate this aspect, or what if I did this? And so we had very productive conversations. Update of the pedagogical approaches through innovative tools. Of course, this is part of the feedback we have received through our comments, through the interviews we conducted with stakeholders. We found that it's important to support the creation of the entrepreneurship culture. And through these same discussions, we found that we realized that the entrepreneurship culture in Cyprus, also in different other partner countries, it's important because it promotes not only the economic growth but also the personal growth of the people. It also enhances employability and throughout this culture of entrepreneurship. Now, our plans for the future, because our project is happily and fortunately coming to a very nice end, and we are all very happy to have managed to deliver such a powerful tool. So we are not stopping here as a consortium. We are holding multiplier events and lectures and presentations in all partner countries beyond the end of the project. We have created a promotional video that is available online and everyone can watch it, and we are starting to distribute massively. Our adaptation toolkit, which is the tool that we will be presenting and when we pitch the ENTRINNO game for education. And of course, we are very fortunate to have convinced about 90 stakeholders to adopt the curriculum in their practices. 90 stakeholders from 8 partner countries, that is, and some of other European countries. Now, the consortium plans on encouraging the adult training providers and education institutions to use ENTRINNO because we ourselves identify the value of this tool for entrepreneurship and education. Also, we plan on engaging civil society organizations, adult learning providers, policymakers, public services, and EU citizens, of course. Since this was a very enjoyable and very creative project, we will be seeking for further funding opportunities, either for expanding this particular tool or creating even more that can be combined with it. And of course, offering courses or summer camps or workshops for enhancing entrepreneurship. in our context. Thank you very much.